Good afternoon. I'd like to talk to you today about some handguns. A friend of mine asked me, it's been a couple years ago now, about what kind of handgun should I buy. And you know, when I told him what I thought, he really didn't particularly care for my response. You know, he really wanted to buy. It wasn't a gun owner. I think he had a few guns that had been passed down, but was definitely not a gun shooter. If you ask that question, what kind of handgun should I buy? You're probably not. Now, you know, you can ask it more specifically if you were a handgun owner, but and had several. But you know, guns are kind of like coats, boots. You know, a person doing something probably wouldn't own one coat. You don't wear the same coat every time you go out. You don't wear the same pair of shoes every time you go out. You know, a woman doesn't carry the same purse. You wouldn't want to carry, you know, the same gun. Now, they are more expensive than some of those items in some respects. I don't know about women's purses sometimes, but there's a lot of different choices there. And you know, when somebody asks me, and I get asked this question a lot because I've been around guns a good bit of my life, and I get asked this question a lot: what kind of handgun should I buy? And most of the time they don't like my response because my response is a little old-fashioned. I'm not, you know, people think, some people probably that are totally gunless and anti-gun think I'm a gun nut. But real gun nuts probably think I'm a softy. But I kind of like some of the more old-fashioned guns, and I'm going to tell you why. I decided that this video series just wouldn't work probably to make one. So I've decided to break it down into about 4 videos. And the first one that I'm going to do, why should I buy handguns? Explore your choices is what I'm going to call it. I'm going to probably break this into a part 1 and part 2. Explore your choices part 1 and explore your choices part 2. And I think, you know, we're going to talk about guns. I'm going to also do a what type of gun should I buy for a handgun carry. Concealed carry primarily is where I'll focus. I will talk a little bit and speak towards open carry, which is legal in most of your states. And I'm from Tennessee, so anything I refer to about state or laws would be primarily for Tennessee. I did have a federal firearms license for over 25 years, and about 20, a little over 20 years actually, not quite 25. But anyway, I had a federal firearms license, so I am somewhat knowledgeable about those laws. And I don't have it anymore. Gave it up a few years back. I do have a concealed carry permit and have been involved in that and had one since you could in Tennessee. So I'm going to speak to you about some of those things. I'm also going to talk to you about home. I'm going to do a video called Home Protection and Plinking, and that may be odd to you, but I think you know, plinking is, if you don't know, refers to like going out and target shooting 22 rifles usually when you talk about plinking. But I'm going to throw that in there and try to make some, because I think you can buy a gun for home protection and one that you could shoot on a regular basis. And we'll talk about why I lump those together when we get that video. But the other video that I intend to make is a friend of mine and I were talking about handgun cartridges, and so we decided we would make a little video about handgun cartridges and talk about the different cartridges, give you some tips and some ideas about a little bit about bullets, not so much about that, but a little history about some of the development of some of the handgun cartridges and what's out there and what's more common and stuff like that. This is primarily designed for someone who has very little to no knowledge about handguns. And so let's start off with telling you the types of handguns. If you look, I believe you'll find that there are legally, I think, 5 different types of handguns. The first one being a single-shot handgun. Probably the first gun was made was probably a single shot. I don't know. I hadn't researched it. Don't really, you know, care. It'd be nice to know, but it's not that important. The next type of handgun is multi-barrel guns. The only multi-barrel gun that I've ever shot is a Derringer. I think a Derringer might be a good choice for some people for concealed carry. It comes in a wide variety of calibers. Some plenty big enough to stop, you know, an assailant that you were trying to stop. Been around for a long time. There's also some older antique probably, and maybe some new ones. I'm not familiar with those, but multi-barrel guns that are out there. You know, people started trying to get more shots, and they went into that. So next comes along the revolvers, probably made next, and then we have the semi-automatics, and then lastly the fully automatic pistol. Today I'm not going to try to show you single shot. There's a company called Thompson Contender or Thompson. It makes some very good single shot if you were looking for high accuracy and target shooting. A single shot pistol might be where you want to go, but I don't own one, don't have one. I have some revolvers and some semi-automatics. On the other end of the spectrum, I have no idea why someone would want to, I guess for fun only, a fully automatic handgun. Just seems like a good way to expend a lot of ammunition quickly for very little value. But let's take a look at revolvers. So I'm going to start with I have a Colt, but it actually is not here right now. But I'm going to first talk to you about the gun that I have here. Is I think a good example to start with. This gun right here is a model 6. What is it? Model 64. That's it. This is the Model 64. I was thinking of Model 10. I used to have a couple Model 10s over the years. The Model 10s are the blued steel version, very similar to this gun. This gun was manufactured from about 1972 or 70 on till, I don't know when Smith, if they've quit manufacturing this gun. The Model 10 started about 1899, so the Smith, and this gun is in 38 Special. This gun is a double action, single action gun, which means that you can pull the hammer back with your thumb and lock it. And if you'll notice, let me release that and pay attention here to the trigger as I pull that hammer back. You'll notice that the trigger now is back. And so what that does, that takes a lot of the pull or the amount of pressure or force that's required to pull that hammer back in what's called a double action, where the hammer is forward and I pull it back and fire that gun. So that gun can be either fired as a single action or double action. You'll notice another thing about this gun, that the firing pin is here on the hammer. And so some of your newer guns, they have an internal firing pin, and you'll hear people, I will dry fire a few of these weapons as we look at them today. And so you'll hear a lot of people, there's a lot of argument out there about everything, and I'm sure I'm going to get blasted for some of my terminology and the fact that I've got this country twang. I lived almost all my life in Tennessee, and so but I typically don't dry fire guns unless, you know, unless I feel like I need to, and I will from time to time as I clean them. Knowing that they're unloaded. Of course, you wouldn't be dry firing it if it was loaded, but I typically try to stay away from firing older guns or dry firing older guns, especially those that have this firing pin built into the trigger here, okay? I think that if you talk to some people, some gunsmiths and some experts, you'll notice another thing about this gun. As you pull the trigger back, or pull the hammer back, I should say, that the cylinder rotates. So when this gun is in a resting position, that hammer rests over a cartridge. And the old days, the old timers used to, in the old single shot, single action, cowboy action pistols, which I don't have an example of. I think I've got a toy cap gun out there I could bring in, but I don't own one and didn't get one. I've borrowed several of these guns from a friend. Anyway, this the old timers were in the habit of carrying, this gun holds 6, okay? You can see this gun will hold 6 shells. It's a 6-shot Smith & Wesson 38 Special, and this gun, in the old days, those old single shots, they didn't put a cartridge underneath that hammer in case it got dropped. Almost all your guns, and I'm not sure about this age Smith in the 70s, but almost all your guns now have to be tested at a drop, and I believe it would be similar to dropping it from waist high, and that it struck the ground and that hammer struck with a certain force that it won't discharge. They're tested. That doesn't mean it won't discharge, but they're fairly safe in that respect, drop safe. So we're going to look at this gun again in a minute, but going to show you now. Like I said, this gun is a 38 in the Smith. You can I'm not sure that you can hit the 64, but you can buy some Smith in a 357. I would not recommend personally purchasing a gun in the 357 or 38 Special, more than likely, unless you had a really distinct. What I've done now is I've reloaded this gun is very similar to the 357 or the 38 I just showed you. It's a Ruger. This one is the Service 6 variant of the Security 6 line. These guns were made from about 72 to about 88. This is a very similar in size and weight gun to the gun I just showed you. If you look closely, and I'll try to angle this up, but if you look closely inside of this cylinder here, you can see that that gun is loaded, okay? I loaded that gun. That's one of the things that I like about a revolver, is that it's easy to pick that gun up, look down. I've unloaded it now. Look down in that cylinder and quite readily see it's loaded. As a matter of fact, if somebody pointed that gun at you, if you took this gun and looked down in there, you could see if the gun actually had shells, had a bullet. You could just see the end of the bullet in the gun. I hope you don't have to tell that somebody's pointing a loaded gun at you that way, or an unloaded gun, but at least you could see that if you're calm enough to recognize that when somebody's pointing a gun like that at you. This one is also a single action, double action revolver, 6 shots. This is in a 357. Now, the nice thing about the 357, and if you want to watch the videos later, we're going to talk about the different handgun rounds. You can shoot a 38 Special, a 38 plus P, or the 357 Magnum. In this gun, you can only shoot the 38 Special in this gun. Okay, so this gun would allow you to shoot a lighter, much lighter load for some target practicing, save money, and then step up to a heavier Magnum load when you wanted to use it for, you know, there are people that use these guns a little bit for hunting. I would probably go to a heavier gun like the 44 Magnum if I was going to hunt very big game with it. I like Ruger. I think Ruger is one of those companies that they don't, there's some original stuff they have, but they do a great job of taking some consistent, some manufactured weapons and making the design better. And so, like I said, this is the Security 6 or Service 6. They made a Speed 6. This one just same as the model 64 Smith. That model 64 Smith was a police gun. Police departments use them. Police departments also use the Service 6. Both of those guns have no adjustable sights. They're slick sights, no adjustable. Then we're going to take a look at a different gun here. We're going to go a different route. Going to stay with the revolvers in the longer barrel. This is another stainless gun. This is a 22. This is a 22 long rifle, or it shoot any 22 caliber bullet. It shoots 10 shots. This happens to be the Taurus. This gun, I picked it up. This is a great gun to target shoot with, plank, take down to the pond, and I carry this gun sometimes out with me in the mornings, and I have a holster that I easily strap on and carry that gun out when I walk the dogs in the morning. It's nice. You can, for any of these revolvers, if you didn't know it, one of the things that you can purchase is called the speed loader. It allows you to quickly open that cylinder on that gun, insert all, in this case this gun holds 10. You turn the knob and release those cartridges into that chamber. You can do this if you're have watched some old times, some TVs where they use revolvers. You'll see from time to time. You can get that in pretty much any caliber. Here's a 357 speed loader for, actually that would work. I believe these will actually work in both the Security 6 and the Smith. You'll see them that they're specified certain guns, but they're close enough together that sometimes they're sort of interchangeable and stuff. The next two guns that I'm going to show you are going to be two double action only revolvers. These are both Ruger. They're both with rubber grips, contoured rubber grips, and if you look closely, you'll notice that they look like, they're almost exactly the same gun. They have no adjustable sights. They also, you can tell that this one is loaded. I wanted to show you so you can see down in that chamber. This is my wife's 38 Special. This actually shoots a 38 plus P, which is a little hotter load. You can get a nice holster like this Phobos here, molded plastic. You can buy molded leather. You can get a very small holster. I like to carry these guns in a holster because it protects the trigger. These guns, like these other revolvers I previously showed you, do not have safeties. Most revolvers don't have safeties. I think a few of your revolvers now are coming with a key lock where you can actually lock that gun where it won't discharge. But like I said, you can easily pick up a revolver and tell whether it's loaded because you can see the bullets, or not the bullets, but the cartridges actually in the chamber. You can actually see the bullet if you look at the other end. I don't know if you can see it on the video. This one is unloaded. This is mine. I carry this gun. You can see that it's got a lot of wear. This gun has a shrouded or covered and concealed hammer. This gun is a double action only, meaning that I have to pull the trigger fairly firmly with a fairly hard trigger pull. I don't know the exact amount of pounds of force it takes to pull that trigger. It's a 5-shot. Mine is in a 357. My wife is in a 38 Special plus P. Now, the reason if I were purchasing one of these guns, I don't know the difference in the new price between the 38 Special and the 357. But if it wasn't much, I would recommend, even if you thought you'd probably shoot the 38 Special, I would probably recommend going with the 357 variant of it because, and the reason for that is that you can always shoot 38 Special, 38 plus P, and 357 in this gun. This is a lightweight alloy gun with a sleeve barrel. I would not recommend this gun to someone who's going to shoot it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times on a range because this gun is lightweight. It's going to make a lot of noise and have a lot of recoil. This is a personal protection concealed carry. I carry this gun in my pants pocket. It fits well in my pants pocket, in my coat pocket. The reason for that shroud hammer is so you can put it in a purse, a coat. It has contoured grips that fit your hand very well. You can see that your hands fit this grip. Those contoured grips. It's not a very heavy gun, And so I like this gun, and we'll speak more about this gun later on. The only other revolver that I have with me today is I have one of my personal guns that I bought a few years ago to carry on a trip to Alaska. This is the Ruger Alaskan Super Red Hawk. In the Alaskan they call it. This one is chambered in a 4.54 Casull, which is a cartridge made off of the looks like this. The cartridge that was developed from the 45 Colt. You can get a speed loader for this. If you want to see this gun in a movie, and this gun has also, these are Ruger grips. It comes with contoured grips. This gun comes in also a longer barreled 8-inch version, and I bought the 2-inch version because I consider this gun the last resort for a grizzly bear. If I have to use this on a grizzly, he's going to be so close that the barrel length is not going to be an issue at that time. This cartridge would stop a grizzly. Probably not before he mauled me at that distance. But there's a movie out called Faster, 2010, with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, Billy Bob Thornton, a couple other actors. I think The Rock shoots Billy Bob, if I remember right. Billy Bob was a dirty cop, and they had they'd done something, murdered maybe Dwayne Johnson's brother or something in the movie. But anyway, it's got a good high-fast Chevelle in it, nice Chevelle if you like old Chevelles. And this handgun. This is also a double single action gun. You'll notice also that this gun has the internal firing pin. I really like this gun. It's not a gun I'd shoot every day. And so now let's move on now and talk about some semi-automatics and do that. So I think I have enough time. I'm not going to stop the video. First gun I'm going to show you here is a 22. This is a Smith & Wesson model 622. Has some wood grips. You'll see they're scratched up. This gun is one of my personal guns. I've carried this gun a good bit around, not as a concealed carry or not as a personal protection gun. This gun is a internal, it has no hammer. And let's talk a little bit about, just briefly, let's address a little bit about semi-automatic weapons. Okay, semi-automatic, if you look, you'll see that they come in, most people categorize them into two different types: striker fire or hammer fire. The difference between a striker fired weapon and a hammer fired weapon is the fact that the hammer fired weapon has a hammer. Some of them that you can pull back and lock. They also come in single action, okay, single double action, and a double action only, that you can't really pull the hammer back and lock it even though it has a hammer that's internal. So we'll take a look at some of all these. This is a striker fire. It has a safety. Most of your semi-automatic or auto loaders, I like to refer to them as auto loaders, that load by using a clip-fed magazine instead of the revolving cylinder, thus calling it a revolver. But this gun has a safety. You can see the red dot when the safety's off, and you can't see the red dot when the safety's on. So this gun, when it's cocked like this and has a bullet, a shell, a cartridge in the chamber, this gun has to have that safety on, or you could actually discharge it. Drop, bump it. I don't particularly carry, usually when I carried this gun around the farm to shoot a snake or some kind of predator or whatever I needed to shoot with it, I didn't carry it typically with a gun with a shell in the chamber typically, because that's not the kind of preparation I was preparing for, and I'll talk to you about that. I've got a little holster that I like to carry this gun in that keeps it nice and safe. Anyway, that gun's unloaded. So let's look at now, let's go back and look at an older gun. This gun that I'm going to show you next is the Browning High Power, okay? It is in a, this gun is in a blued steel version. This is an older Belgian-made gun. It's not new. This one has adjustable rear sight, which I really don't like because for the way I grip this gun, this is one of my more favorite guns. This gun was designed by John Browning, who died in 1926 or so, 29. This gun went into manufacture, being manufactured about the mid-30s, 1935 I think is the date. This gun has been and may still be carried by many of your foreign militaries. Canada, they may have gotten away from it and gone to a different gun, but at one time this was a Canadian issue. I was once at a gun show. I wish I'd bought them all, or at least a guy had two, what looked to be about a 35-gallon barrels full of these guns. They had the non-adjustable sights. They were combat issue. They had the hole, the hammer with the hole in it, you know, with the hole in the hammer, a lanyard snap on it. Canadian release guns that he had purchased somewhere in the Cosmoline, and at that gun show at that time, this has been a long time ago, he was getting $200 a piece for them, and I wish I'd have bought every one I could have. At that time I couldn't buy many, and I didn't buy one, but this is nice. It's got a 15-shot clip. It's therefore the Browning High Power, so you can put a lot of shells in this one. 13 shots actually, and one in the chamber, and so you end up with 14, 15 shots out there in this gun. So this is a high capacity magazine that you know, I guess in some of those cities that are outlawing your high capacity magazines, you couldn't carry this gun. This gun's been around for a long time, since the 30s. This is a gun that if you're an old timer like me, if you watch Magnum PI, this was a gun that Magnum PI carried. It's this isn't chambered in a 9mm Luger. I've never seen a Browning High Power chambered in anything else. This particular gun, I'm not as fond of this one. I think the adjustable sight sits too far back for me to safely grip and pull that hammer back. This is a single action only. You have to cock it this way. It would, and it does not have a decocker. It does have a safety. It does not, unlike the 45, the American military 1911 Colt, which I'm not going to show you one of. I wish I had one with me today, but I don't. I'm not fond of the Colt. It's okay. But again, I think both the Colt and this gun are great military weapons, but probably not, maybe not the best gun for someone to carry as a personal carrying weapon. You know, we'll talk more about that later when I talk about concealed carry, and I'll try to show you why. They're designed to, they're good combat weapons, I think. This one, 9mm, the High Power has a lot of capacity. The grip's not too big for me. It's got a good feel. I like the High Power. If you grip up too high, you'll get too close to the top of that gun, and the slide will get you. But I've always liked the way the High Power felt in my hand. Okay, it's a pretty heavy gun. And let's go to something a little more modern, but still not moving too far ahead. This is a SIG, two-tone SIG. This is the P220. A friend of mine loaned me this gun to show. It is a double action, single action revolver. You'll notice the hammer's back. There is no, this one doesn't have the ambidextrous. It has a right-handed, right thumb decocker that decock that. This gun can be fired in double action or locked back and fired in single action, okay? Like the revolver, the trigger pull is much less when this hammer is locked back and ready to fire now, okay? It's much less. Also, you can fire this gun in double action mode where you can pull the trigger. It has a single stack magazine. This is a 45 version of this. This is one of the older guns that he has that's made in Germany, West Germany. This SIG, I like most of their guns, and I've carried a SIG for a time, years back, but they're fairly heavy. Heavier guns, shoot very well, very safe, very good guns. This gun does not have a safety. It has a decocker. A lot of your guns designed like this don't have safeties. That doesn't mean they're not safe. Let's see. Let me go to, let's take a look at the only Glock that I've got with me today is a model 36 in the 45. This is the compact version of this gun, a more compact version. This one has a clip extension on it. I'm going to show you what it looks like with the clip extension gone here in a few minutes. This one I think is loaded. Nope, it's unloaded. But if you take the clip extension off this gun, you can see that if you didn't have the clip extension on, for me, that gun is fairly short in the butt plate, the butt. Don't have a lot of room for my little pinky finger down there. These clip extenders that I have on this gun come off quite easily, okay? You can take them off fairly easily. I'm not going to try to pull that one off today, but you can take those off and get rid of those clip extensions. But the gun feels pretty good when you put that clip extension on it. It is a striker fire weapon. That usually causes the gun to be more blocky in the butt. Your striker fire weapons will be. This one is a 45. This particular gun has an internal pin. The pin that you see in the center here, that pin, you'll see is a laser. The battery, I believe, is out on that one. A friend of mine let me borrow this gun, and he wanted me to replace the battery on it. The battery on that pin is out, so I'm going to replace the battery for him in that gun. But that's a gun. The first time I shot the 36, I didn't like it. I shot full loads in it. It was had a terrible recoil for the size of the gun. But I went and bought some lower velocity compact loads designed for the compact, and it shot a lot better. So the 36 is not bad. You can get a little holster to protect that. Your striker fire guns do have a safety of sorts, or at least this particular model. You'll notice that that gun has a trigger safety. You have to put your hand on it. This is a Glock. There's been some controversy about Glocks. From what I've read, a lot of the controversy comes in from when people modify these guns and modify the trigger pull to lessen that trigger pull and take something out of the safety. This gun, let's see. This one does not have the, I just loaded that gun. That gun does not have an indicator, a load indicator. I'm going to show you one in a minute that has a load indicator. I'm not a big fan of the Glock. I mean, they're okay. They're good guns, good solid guns. They've served our police pretty well. You've heard of a few. I think there's a few accidents that I've heard of. But again, from what I can tell, most of those center around a fact that they've been modified somewhat. Okay, now I'm going to show you a gun very similar to the Glock, and also another striker fire weapon. This one I'm going to show you is also a subcompact, considered subcompact. To me, it's not subcompact. This is what I'd call a subcompact. But for the this one is in 40 caliber, 40 S&W. This one I have a laser. This one has just the light on it. You can pull it off. What I do like about this is a Springfield XD40, and this is these are side-by-side comparisons. You can see. Let's do it this way. This is the subcompact XD in the 40 caliber. This is the subcompact Glock 36, and you can see a good bit of difference. Of course, this is a 45 and a 40 comparison. I'll compare also here in a minute. I've got a 45, but this gun right here has a really big clip extension on this gun. Okay, you'll notice that again, just like all the rest of them, it has a good bit of room at the bottom that you lose if you don't have one of these clip extensions in it. Okay, I like the XD40. This one has some let's see, this one doesn't have the night sights on it. I believe the SIG actually has tritium night sights on it that I have there, as well as that laser. This gun has this gun, if you look closely, you'll see that this bump up right here, you'll see this little bump. That gun is loaded, and that bump indicates that it's loaded, okay? Unlike the Glock that we looked at, you'll see now that it's down. So you can look at this gun, you can pick this gun up if you're familiar with it, and you can look at the top of that gun and tell quickly and rapidly whether there's a shell in the chamber or not. And I think that's an important aspect of any handgun. Okay, I'm going to look now at a couple, another gun. This is a striker fire Ruger, which does have a safety, ambidextrous safety. The red dot for the safety is on the right side. And this gun has both the trigger safety here that you can see, much like the Glock. This is called the SR9. This is a Ruger that has an ambidextrous grip release. This gun, I like the feel of this gun. The only thing I don't like, I wish it had a more rubberized grip. This gun feels very good in my hands. Like the XD that I just showed you, this gun has a load indicator here that pops up, so you can tell if this gun is loaded. That means that it not just loaded, not loaded by having ammunition in the clip, but having a shell in the chamber. This is a double action, or this one is a striker fire, has to be cocked. It's more like the Glock. It does not have a palm safety. I should have shown you earlier that if you'll notice the XD, that they have a palm safety as well as the trigger safety, but no manual safety, okay? No manual conventional safety like the button, like on this Ruger. So you've got a lot of variation in the guns. Then I'm going to go and show you a couple. I want to show you about 2 or 3 more small handguns. This is an AMT. This is an older gun that I have in a 380. It is a heavy horse. It would pull your pants down. It's in the 40 S&W, so it had to be made a little heavier. But if you'll notice, this gun has an internal hammer that if you pull the trigger, there's no safety on this gun. You can see that hammer come back. This is a double action only. Every time you pull that trigger, that hammer comes back. That gun would be very akin in the way it works to this gun, okay? The difference here is one of them's loaded through a revolving cylinder. This one is loaded via a clip, okay? A double action only. That's a true double action only pistol. There's a lot of them that are kind of combo striker fire. Here's a small Ruger. This is the Ruger LC9. It has the integrated laser at the bottom. The battery's burned out, I believe, or I couldn't get it to come on. Maybe I wasn't pushing it right. This one has a safety. It's right hand gun. You can see the red dot off and on. This one is also has a internal hammer that comes back, but it's more of a striker fire than a true double action. You'll notice that once I've cocked it and I've discharged that gun did not, it would have to have the slide come back, and without a shell in there, it won't release and go back down. But to cock it again, it would have to be pulled back and cocked. So that gun's a little different. Not your typical true double action only. That gun comes with a little holster that you can put, got a little magnet in it so you can pull it out and the laser can be left on where it comes on automatically. One of my favorite guns, and my gun that I carry a lot, is a Kel-Tec. This is the Kel-Tec 380, 3AT. I've got several Kel-Tecs, and you'll hear people say they're junk. I don't know about that. I shoot this gun with a bullet in it called a Powerball. When these guns were manufactured quite some time ago, they were came out in a 380, and I bought a conversion kit and converted one of the guns a little larger than this to the 40 caliber from the 380. But this gun is much like the Ruger. When you pull that trigger, it's a double action only, but it also has to be cocked. And of course, if you had a shell in the chamber when you pull that trigger, it would cock itself. So this gun, when they first came out, people complained they had a lot of feed shoot jams. I found that shooting those power balls that have a coating inside of the hollow point allows for me to avoid some of the feed shoot jams. I did polish the feed shoot where the bullet feeds in. A lot of people refer to these and say they're junk. They're cheap. The Ruger makes a gun that almost identical to this. I feel like they basically copied the Kel-Tec. I personally like the Kel-Tec, you know, and the 380. It is extremely light. I've had this gun for a long time, and I have gotten out of the vehicle a couple times at home where I can shoot my gun in my yard in the country, and I've said, you know, I'm just going to shoot this gun today, and I've pulled it out and emptied the clip to see if it shoots, to make sure, okay? And we'll talk about that. I really like this for concealed carry. You can put it in your pants pocket. We're going to talk more about that gun when we talk about concealed carry. So, been through pretty much all of them. I know it's kind of fast. One of the things that I like about the automatics, the XDs, if you want to compare an XD to, this is a subcompact Glock, you'll notice here that this is slick down here. Glock may have changed that, but you'll notice XD allows for you to slide on one of these clamp-on lights or lasers at the bottom. A nice flashlight for your gun. Great for home protection, police departments and such. So, I hope you've enjoyed what I've shown you today. It's been 45 minutes nearly. I doubt anybody will be watching till the end, but I think it needed to be done. I'm planning to make my videos in the future a little shorter. So if you watch this, take a look at my other videos about personal protection. I'll try to slow down a little bit on those and go a little slower. I wanted to get a lot of stuff in a short time as I could. So you have a great day, and thank you for watching.